Hello, I'm Itsuko Adelman, Manager of Corporate Liaison at Data East USA Inc. in San Jose, California. This presentation provides a visual comparison of the characters and fighting moves from the two one-on-one fight games at issue in this dispute, Street Fighter II and Fighter's History. Street Fighter II is produced by Capcom Company Limited in Japan and distributed by the plaintiff Capcom U.S.A. Inc. Fighter's History is produced by defendant Data East Corp in Japan and distributed by defendant Data East USA. The nature of this dispute is described more fully in the printed materials filed by Capcom and Data East. Put simply, Capcom claims that Data East copied the fighter characters and their moves from Street Fighter II and put them into the Data East game Fighter's History. Capcom has filed the declaration of a support representative, David Winstead, making these allegations. This video is organized into two parts. Part 1, made up of 7 short segments, reviews Capcom's allegation that Data East copied 7 characters from Street Fighter II. We will compare them with the characters from Fighter's History that Capcom claims are copies. Part 2, made up of 18 short segments, compares several fighting techniques, generally known as special moves, that Capcom claims were copied in Fighter's History. In this first segment, we will review Capcom's claim that Data East character Matlock Jade is a copy of Capcom's character Guile. A visual comparison of these characters show that they are not similar. This is Guile, as he appears in the Street Fighter II strategy guide. The images from the strategy guide are the only images Capcom submitted with its papers. If you think that Guile looks familiar, you could be right. This is the image of Guile from Street Fighter II Champion Edition in his ready stance. I will refer to the screen images from the two games as bitmap images. Guile is obviously associated with the United States military. He wears camouflage military pants, army boots, a green military undershirt, dog tags, and a tattoo of an American flag. Consistent with his military image, Guile has a flat-top haircut. In many one-on-one fighting games, each character has its own graphical background known as its home stage. Guile's is a military base. There are other military personnel, a military aircraft, and United States Air Force insignia on the pavement. Matlock Jade from Data East Fighter's History is quite different from Guile in both conception and appearance. This is a pencil sketch of Matlock used by the graphic artist as a model for the bitmap images in the game. And here's the bitmap image of Matlock from Fighter's History in his ready stance. Matlock is an athletic punk rocker from England. He sports a blonde mohawk haircut, sunglasses and headphones, a leather-studded harness, baggy pants, and boots. Matlock's hair design was based on this photograph of a spiked mohawk haircut. Each character in Fighter's History has a particular weak spot and will be stunned if the opponent hits this weak spot when it is flashing. This concept does not exist in Street Fighter II. Matlock's weak spots are his sunglasses and headphones. Consistent with Matlock's athletic and musical character, his fighting movements, especially the kicks, resemble breakdancing. Matlock's home stage is a street in England featuring other punk rockers and a distinctly British bobby. Dance music plays in the background. The personality differences between Guile and Matlock are reinforced by their speech and behavior after winning a round.
Ow, come on!
This is Guile after a first round victory. Note that he silently combs his hair and folds his hands on his hips. Matlock is completely different. This second segment compares Data East's character Samche Tomyamkum and Capcom's character Sagat. Capcom asserts that Samche is a copy of Sagat. Both characters are Thai kickboxers, but otherwise they are very different. This is Sagat from Capcom's Street Fighter II strategy guide. He has a distinctive patch over one eye and a prominent scar across his chest. This is the bitmap image of Sagat in front of his home stage. Sagat is a bald giant who dwarfs other Street Fighter II characters. This is a pencil sketch of Data East Samche, used as a model for the bitmap images in the game. This is the bitmap image of Samche in his ready stance. Samche is a muscular but trim Thai kickboxer. His fighting movements and costume are based on the art of Muay Thai. Samche's appearance, costume, and movements were made as authentic as possible given the limitations of computer graphics, including his wrapped wrists, bicep armbands, and traditional headband. Samche's weak spots are his armbands. Samche's fighting moves and stances were all inspired by photographs of actual kickboxers, as illustrated in this Thai kickboxing book. Sagat wears neither the traditional headband nor armbands. Samche shouts out the name of his special attacks in Thai, unlike Sagat. Although Mr. Winstead states that Samche is bald like Sagat, he is obviously not. Mr. Winstead also states that Sagat wears earrings. According to the picture in Capcom's strategy guide, he does not. Sagat's home stage is completely different from Samche's. In this third segment, we review Capcom's assertion that Data East's character Makoto Mizoguchi is a copy of Capcom's character Ryu. Other than being male Japanese fighters using karate techniques, the two characters are not similar. This is the picture of Capcom's Ryu from the Street Fighter II strategy guide. Ryu wears a traditional Shotokan karate outfit, complete with a black belt and extended wrist protectors. This is the bitmap image of Ryu on his home stage, which is a dojo rooftop. This is a pencil sketch of Mizoguchi. This is the bitmap image of Mizoguchi in his ready stance. Mizoguchi departs from the traditional karate dress with baggy black pants and shortened wrist protectors. Mizoguchi's weak spot is his headband. Mizoguchi is a master of Kenka Karate, or no-hold-barred karate. It begins with standard karate and adds illegal fighting moves such as attacks below the belt, headbutting, and grabbing an opponent's collar to throw him to the ground. Mizoguchi's Japanese identification is further emphasized by his home stage, the suspension bridge between two steep mountains in the Kansai region of Japan. It looks very different from Ryu's home stage. This fourth segment reviews Capcom's assertion that Data East character Jean-Pierre is similar to Capcom's character Vega. Other than being fair-skinned European fighters, these characters are not similar. This is the picture of Vega from the Street Fighter II strategy guide. This is the bitmap image of Vega in his ready stance. Vega fights bare-chested and wears a long, fierce-looking claw on his attacking hand. He covers his face with a protective white hockey mask. In addition to these highly distinctive features, Vega wears high-waisted pants that end just below the knee and brown loafers. His brown hair is worn in a long, braided ponytail. This is the pencil sketch of Jean-Pierre. And this is the bitmap image of Jean in his ready stance. Jean-Pierre is a strong, muscular, yet agile French gymnast. He has short blonde hair in a modern haircut, traditional gymnast outfit, and suspenders. His costume includes boots and protective knee pads to create a tougher appearance. John's weak spot is his leg band, which is in the colors of the French flag. John's and Vega's home stages are completely different. John fights in a ballroom at the Grand Palace of Versailles. The French aristocracy in full ballroom clothing cheers him on. Vega fights in a Spanish fight pit in a darkened nightclub. The onlookers are protected by a tall chain-link fence. This fifth segment reviews Capcom's assertion that Data East's Ray McDougal is similar to Street Fighter II's character Ken. Other than being blonde American men, these characters are not similar. This is Ken from Capcom Street Fighter II Strategy Guide. And this is the bitmap image of Ken in his ready stance. Ken has brown eyes and long but neatly layered blonde hair. Ken wears a red karate costume, black belt, and no shoes. This is a bitmap image of Ray generated by Fighter's History. Ray is an American detective trained in a variety of martial arts. He has blue eyes and short, messy blonde hair. He wears a tight muscle shirt with a prominent lightning bolt on the front. To portray his American identity, Ray wears blue jeans and athletic shoes and speaks English while fighting. Ray's weak spot is the lightning bolt on his shirt. Ken and Ray have different hairstyles, different colored eyes, and different costumes. Players attracted to Ken's purest karate personality are unlikely to be attracted to Ray, who is almost mocking the purists. Ray's home stage is the U.S. Capitol building. The accompanying music is rock and roll. Ken's home stage is quite different. This sixth segment reviews Capcom's allegation that Data East character Mastorius is similar to Capcom's character Zangief. Other than being heavy-set wrestlers, the two characters are not similar. This is a picture of Zangief from Capcom's Street Fighter II Strategy Guide. And this is a bitmap image of Zangief in his ready stance. Consistent with Zangief's origin in the old Soviet Union, he wears his hair in a short, narrow strip down the middle of his shaved head and has a close-cropped beard. Zangief wears only red and gold boots, briefs, and wristbands. There appears to be some barely noticeable hair on Zangief's legs above the bootlaces. It is impossible to tell whether this hair is fur protruding from the top of the boot or Zangief's own leg hair. This is the bitmap image of Mastorius from Data East's Game Fighter's History. Mastorius has a more liberated appearance, with long shaggy hair and a very full beard. Mastorius wears fur leg warmers inspired by this well-known pro wrestler, Bruiser Brody. Mastorius wears the costume of the ancient Roman gladiators who he believes may have originated his modern wrestling style. He wears a leather protector covering much of his upper body and skirt-like shorts. Zangief's home stage reinforces these character differences. Zangief fights in this Soviet industrial factory. Note the familiar hammer and sickle on the floor. The confined workers cheer him on. Mastorius's home stage is outdoors, in front of the historic Fountain of Trevi in Italy. The fountain features a large statue in the traditional Roman style. This seventh and last character comparison segment reveals Capcom's allegation that Data East's character Fei Ling is similar to Capcom's character Chun-Li. Other than being Chinese women, the characters are not similar. This is Chun-Li as she appears in the Street Fighter II Strategy Guide. And this is the bitmap image of Chun-Li in her ready stance. Chun-Li wears a blue china dress, revealing her legs up to her waist, calf-high white boots, and spiked wristbands. She ties her hair up with an elaborate ribbon with two prominent poofs, one at each side of her head. These are pencil sketches of Fighter's History character Fei Ling. Fei Ling is a top actress in Kyogeki, a traveling Chinese opera. Her opera costume has protective armor from her shoulder to her breast. The rest of the opera costume covers her legs to below the knee. Fei Lin wears brown kung fu shoes and wears her hair in a long ponytail tied in two places. Fei Lin's costume was inspired by this photograph of an authentic Chinese opera costume. This is the bitmap image of Fei Lin in her ready stance. Fei Lin is an expert in Toroken, or praying mantis ken. It involves stances and fighting movements very different from those of other Chinese fighters, such as Chun-Li in Street Fighter II. Fei Lin's home stage in China depicts other members of her theatrical company and is accompanied by music in the style of Chinese opera. Chun-Li's home stage, which depicts a busy marketplace, is quite different. Fei Lin is a serious, strong woman fighter who commands respect. Chun-Li, on the other hand, grins and giggles, portraying a stereotype of a young girl who need not be taken seriously. This concludes the character comparisons in the two games. Part 2 of this video will compare the characters' special fighting moves that Capcom asserts were copied by Data East.